joined in the Armenian 100-year march in memory of the 1.5 million Armenian victims of the genocide under the Ottoman Empire.
All human beings must pause to recognize what was done to all of us. And the dehumanizing that comes with denial means we all are a little less human when we cannot admit the history that has been made.
The 6-mile march began in Little Armenia and then ended at the Turkish consulate in the Wilshire area. Joining hand in hand was Councilman Paul Krikorian, the first Armenian-American member of the city council.
Earlier this morning, the corner of Western and Hollywood was designated Armenian Genocide Square. We're coming together as one city family to remember the lessons of the Armenian Genocide.
As we march to the Turkish consulate demanding an end to 100 years of denial, the movement of our feet will reverberate across this city, across this nation, across the world.
Marchers of all ages came out to show their support and send a message.
My family was in the genocide, so I think for me personally, for all the other Armenians, for all the other survivors, it's time that Turkey confesses for what they did.
I'm doing it for their memory because they survived, and as it says here, I'm alive because they survived.
According to the U.S. Census data, Southern California has long been a hub for Armenians, with more than 200,000 people of Armenian descent living in Los Angeles County. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
And a day before the march, during another city centennial commemoration event, LA City leaders took a bold stance in semantics. As Gil Reyes reports, their position differs from President Obama's.
On the 100th anniversary of what many historians acknowledge as the Armenian genocide, Councilman Paul Krikorian helps plant a pomegranate tree outside City Hall. For Armenian Americans like him, the fruit symbolizes survival. Survival from genocide that Turkey says never actually occurred.
100 years later, Turkey is still denying its culpability. And how shameful it is that our own government is complicit in that denial. How shameful it is that our president and our Congress still again today have failed to tell Turkey that no, we do not accept your denial of accountability.
LA City leaders are now urging Turkey and the White House to finally acknowledge the Armenian genocide, a term to describe the massacre and deportations of 1.5 million Armenians by Ottoman Turks a century ago. Turkey strongly rejects the term genocide, claiming there was never a deliberate attempt to wipe out the entire Armenian population. President Obama has also refrained from using the G word since entering the White House. The LA Times reports he's afraid of offending Turkey, a powerful ally in the Middle East.
But here in Los Angeles, we haven't forgotten. We cannot forget. We'll never forget, because we know that denial is the final act of genocide.
When we mince our words, we give truth to lies. We can't do that. Here in Los Angeles, we won't do that.
This is the first of 100 pomegranate trees to be planted citywide to commemorate the centennial. At City Hall, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Turning now to a $50,000 reward being offered by the city as police continue to seek out information leading to the killer of a Catholic church member. It happened in the community of Palms in LA's West Side. As Gil Reyes reports, it was just the latest in several shootings in less than a week.
The shooting death of 33-year-old Christopher John Paul is the latest in a string of violent incidents to rock the normally peaceful community of Palms. Police say the victim was walking home to his apartment after fetching a cup of coffee. That's when someone shot him in this alleyway just steps from his home. Residents are shocked.
Do you walk to and from school?
Yeah.
Isn't that scary to walk around here now?
Most times. I'm very cautious now.
Police say Christopher John Paul was shot from behind in broad daylight here at the gated entrance of his apartment complex. The crime scene now adorned with flowers and other tributes. Adding to the community's outrage were a series of shootings that took place not far from here just 6 days earlier.
27-year-old Justin Aguilar was shot and killed at nearby Woodbine Park on Thursday, April 16th. Police have arrested 3 suspects, one of them now charged with murder. Minutes later, that same day, another shooting erupted at this Palms mini mall. 2 people were injured. Police haven't said whether or not these incidents are gang-related. The city is offering a $50,000 reward in the Christopher John Paul case.
There is absolutely no known motive for why this person was killed. He was a very innocent man. He went to church, daily mass at St. Augustine Catholic Church in Culver City.
We believe there's somebody out there that knows about this, and we hope that this significant reward will help bring them out of the woodwork.
And help bring calm to this community. In Palms, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
If you know something but would like to report tips anonymously, call 1-800-222-TIPS. It's the first step in what may be the start of something big when it comes to the city's efforts to help end homelessness. As Anna Marcos tells us, city leaders say it's time to appoint somebody at the helm, a homeless czar.
The city's latest financial report on homelessness has been a wake-up call for council members. According to the report, the city spends $100 million a year to deal with the 23,000 homeless people getting services on LA streets.
As your report pointed out, you're being kind. You say we're spending $100 million a year. For the most part, we're wasting $100 million a year.
And there are people who are homeless every place in the city. There are large concentrations that are obvious, like downtown, and the west side, and Venice, along freeways and highways.
To end homelessness, it's not enough to house homeless people. We have to prevent people from becoming newly homeless.
In response to that report, the City Council has approved a plan to form an ad hoc committee on homelessness, the first of its kind. Under the plan, the city would hire a homelessness czar to oversee all departments that deal with the homeless. It would coordinate its homeless efforts within departments as well as with the county. And any groups getting funding for homeless services would have to join a coordinated entry database system that matches homeless people with the right type of housing and services, giving each resident a priority rating.
It's building the affordable housing, wrapping it around with supportive services, identifying the most chronic, the most vulnerable.
The fact of the matter is that we haven't had much coordination internally or even externally.
Some members of the public were not supportive of the plan.
The population of people in Skid Row, including myself and many other people here today, see this, look at the crowd, are not finding any good results by this council shoe here to address the issue of homelessness. There's little housing, rent's out of control.
Some residents applauded the city's efforts.
This is a great opportunity and a great moment in time for the city of Los Angeles.
The plan would also provide more money for mental health services and police who work with the mentally ill. And it would expand homeless services to areas outside of Skid Row, including the Operation Healthy Streets, a cleanup effort. In cities where similar plans have worked, supporters say, the formula is simple: housing, housing, and more housing. I'm Anna Marcos for LA This Week.
City leaders say other cities which are making progress on homelessness include New York, Salt Lake City, San Francisco, Portland, and Seattle. Boarding up abandoned properties with plywood may soon be a thing of the past as LA City leaders take a look at a new, more community-friendly approach to blight. Yana Kay has more.
I've asked Jordan to sling the hammer. Jordan, as a demo.
Using a sledgehammer and swinging as hard as he can, this Council District 10 city employee can't shatter this plastic.
We've had a couple of people take a whack at it with sledgehammers and baseball bats, and it stays secure.
The demonstration was hosted by Council President Herb Wesson at an abandoned home in Mid-City, LA, to showcase a new product created by the company SecureView. Company executives said the plastic material could be used instead of plywood to secure and protect abandoned properties. They say the product has the look of a traditional window.
The moment you put on a plywood board, you're inviting vandalism, you're advertising the property's vacant, come and get me.
But company officials say this patented state-of-the-art technology will help stop the blight that follows and keep intruders and squatters from coming inside. And for neighbors, it's a winning proposition.
Once they're boarded, you still don't know who's inside of them. People find ways to get past, the plywood. So if you could see inside and see who's in there, that would be a big improvement. So yeah, this is an important product.
For a squatter looking to get inside, company execs say the flexible material is unbreakable and can't even be cut with a knife.
If it was really cleaned up, that people would walk past and just not even look at it.
It looks like a normal house.
Yes, it does.
Company officials say by improving the aesthetics of the home, the product can also help maintain the value of home prices in the neighborhood. Council President Wesson says he is open to a discussion about how the city can use this product to secure vacant properties within Los Angeles. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
Los Angeles is currently not using the product, but SecureView said it has already installed its product in 5,000 homes across the country. Traveling can be stressful for anyone, but for those with special needs, it can be even more of a daunting endeavor. But now a new program launched by LAX is doing its part to make flying that much friendlier for those with autism and for their families. Here's Rasha Goel.
Passengers with autistic family members can now feel a little more at ease when traveling. Thanks to a new program at LAX called the Flight Experience Program, families can get better prepared for future travel through services offered by Los Angeles World Airports.
Families are hesitant to fly because they do not know how their loved ones may react inside a terminal and do not know how people will respond to their situation.
Our students that have autism, they have problems with transition, and it becomes very scary. And so this way they get to practice these skills.
Los Angeles World Airports has partnered with several airlines for the program. The airlines will be holding mock experiences to provide autistic passengers and their families a chance to see what traveling is like. For many of the kids here, it's their first time coming to the airport.
He has a fear of heights. He didn't even want to come. So being able to come through the step process without any fear and with the help of all the employees, this is excellent.
But this is great, knowing we can see how he's going to handle, when we actually go into a trip.
Families had the chance to go through TSA screening, sit at the gates, and board the flight, giving them a realistic experience of traveling. Through the program, TSA officers and airport police are also taught about autism and possible behavioral issues that may occur at the airport or in flight, so they are better prepared.
You definitely need patience in this field, especially with children with autism or even any person with disabilities, being very respectful of their disabilities, not outing them in public, different things like that.
LAWA has also initiated an autism self-identification program that allows people with autism to wear a specially designed sticker in the shape of a puzzle piece.
It will alert airport personnel or airport police or the airline that the individual has autism, and in turn it'll let us know how to better serve them.
A new adventure waiting in the wings. In Los Angeles, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
And LAX also made the day of a very special kid named Noah recently. Noah's always had a wish, and as Yana Kay tells us, local law enforcement officials and the Make-A-Wish Foundation helped make that dream come true.
And then we'll put our helmet on you. If it gets too heavy, you can always take it off.
8-year-old Noah Cohen is being lathered with attention from Los Angeles firefighters.
I look good.
Noah, who was born with a rare condition and has endured 24 surgeries since birth, has always wanted to become a first responder in Los Angeles, a dream that was sparked by watching the show Emergency. And thanks to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, his dream became a reality.
He's super excited. He loves anything related to emergency rescue. And so just to have them all together in one place is pretty incredible.
The family flew in from Vermont earlier in the day and enjoyed a hero's welcome at LAX from the Los Angeles Airport Police, LA County Sheriff, and Los Angeles Police and Fire Departments.
We're glad to have you here.
And emergency personnel certainly pulled out all the stops to make sure Noah felt like a true member of the team. After riding shotgun in a fire truck, sheriff's deputies dressed Noah in one of their bulletproof vests and helmet. And he also checked out the inside of an armored vehicle.
This is a fantastic dream come true for my son.
The mission of the Make-A-Wish Foundation is to grant the wishes of children with life-threatening conditions and put a smile on their faces. And for little Noah, his smile was certainly well-deserved. I'm Yana Kay for LA This Week.
LAPD officers are one step closer to using on-body cameras in the field. The former LAPD headquarters could become an official LA landmark, and other headlines in City Beat. The Board of Police Commissioners voted 3-1 to approve rules governing the use of wearable cameras for LAPD officers, such as when the cameras must be turned on, how long the recordings should last, and how the devices are to be maintained and inspected. The Los Angeles Police Protective League, the union representing LAPD officers, supports these policies, saying that video is beneficial in providing a reliable account of events, but should be used in conjunction with other evidence. Opponents say the policies do not address issues such as whether the footage will be released to the public or how the department will be able to use that footage. A special ceremony in honor of recently retired Metro CEO Art Leahy and his family. MTA and Mayor Eric Garcetti unveiled a plaque that dedicates Metro's Division III bus yard at Cypress Park in Leahy's name. The recognition commemorates the Leahy family's combined 125 years of service to Metro and its agencies.
It's been a thrill to be at Metro. It's been the best 6 years of my career. We have done things no one else in the country has done.
I know every single day when folks here show up to work, they will look up and say, an operator became the chief. And every single day, my work matters.
Leahy began his transit career as a bus driver for the Southern California Rapid Transit District back in 1971. LAPD's former headquarters, Parker Center, could be designated as a historic and cultural landmark. In January, the city's Cultural Heritage Commission recommended that the 8-story tower and surrounding landscaping be given historical cultural status. This move coincides with the plan on the part of the city's Bureau of Engineering to demolish Parker Center and replace it with a bigger office tower. Conservationists say the building warrants landmark status because of its historic role in race relations and in the modernization of the policing profession. The LA City Council has until May 13th to grant historical status. LA City Attorney Mike Feuer's office has won a temporary restraining order to keep Wilmington medical marijuana dispensary called 420 Collective closed. Feuer says the business is operating illegally under the voter-approved Prop D.
People who are really sick, who are suffering with cancer or other serious illnesses, ought to have access to medical marijuana to alleviate their pain. But there are too many dispensaries. They were too close together. They were too close to schools and sensitive sites.
Feuer's office is also filing civil cases against 6 other Wilmington businesses clustered within a 6-block span of each other on Avalon Boulevard. It was casual Friday on a recent Wednesday in City Council chambers as council members donned comfortable jeans in support of Denim Day, a national campaign that is part of Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Folks are encouraged to wear jeans on Denim Day to stand up against sexual violence. And that's our This Week in Tweets. At LAPD HQ tweeted this photo of Denim Day founder Patricia Giggins, Mayor Eric Garcetti, and LAPD Chief Charlie Beck. Chief Beck also tweeted several snaps. One of them says, "Great event with Patty Giggins and @Guess." Councilman Mitch O'Farrell shared this Instagram photo via Twitter of many of his council colleagues in jeans. He wrote, "In Los Angeles, taking a stand against sexual violence." It's a sign of a well-used park, worn-out play equipment. And at One Valley Park, those aging playground structures are finally going into retirement. Devonshire Park in Mission Hills is well-loved by area residents. Arguably none more than longtime resident Karen, who proudly introduces herself as a professional Polynesian dancer.
I have performed here in the park a couple of years ago. I do Polynesian dance. I'm 1/4 from the island of Hawaii. My husband and I like to come over for picnics and barbecues, and we've had 2 parties.
But that means the well-utilized park and its kids' play area were due or overdue for some much-needed upgrades.
I grew up not too far away from here. This was an area that we would come and play, and at the time, the brand new park was really exciting. But to be able to do what we're doing here, create a new accessible format for young people to play of all ages so that it's convenient to the community, that it's a place where you can have active and passive recreation, really is something that's very excited.
Councilman Felipe Fuentes and the city's recreation and parks officials cut the ribbon on 2 new children's play areas designed for kids from 2 to 12 years old. Built-in canopies mean kids can enjoy the new slides and swings without worries about the harsh sun beaming down on them. And Karen, yes, the Polynesian dancer, who has lived here since the 1950s, says the park here on Woodman Avenue has come a long way.
This park was a vacant lot when we very first moved in, and it was wonderful. And we got to be a part of the voting to bring the park in. We also got to be the ones to name the park. So when you can do this kind of stuff and see this progress happening, it's a beautiful thing.
But for young Abriana, who lives close to the park, she's concerned with something much more pressing, conquering her fears.
I'm screwed up this one, because look, watch. See, I'm scared.
A thrill a minute at the newly refurbished Devonshire Park. Devonshire Park is located at 10230 Woodman Avenue in Mission Hills. In this week's edition of Things to Do, a pancake breakfast for a good cause, a tree giveaway, and something special for Mom on Mother's Day. Fill up your tummy and show your support for the LAPD. On Saturday, May 9th, enjoy an all-you-can-eat pancake breakfast hosted by LAPD's Solid, which stands for Supporters of Law Enforcement in Devonshire. The pancake breakfast will be served from 8 to 11 a.m. with an open house from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., featuring a classic car show and face painting for kids. Tickets are $9 per person for the pancake breakfast. Kids 3 and under eat free. There is no charge for other activities. The event will be held at the LAPD Devonshire Division located at 10250 at Awanda Avenue in Northridge. Go to soliddevonshire.org. Councilmember Mitchell Englander and the group City Plants are sponsoring a free tree giveaway to city residents on Saturday, May 9th from 9 a.m. to noon. You can enjoy a day at the park at Northridge Park and go home with a tree to plant in your yard. There is a limit of 1 tree per address, and the trees will be distributed on a first-come, first-served basis while supplies last. Proof of residence in the city of LA is required to adopt a tree. Northridge Park is located at 18300 LaMarche Street in Northridge. Go to cityplants.org. And don't forget to spoil the mother in your life this Mother's Day. On Sunday, May 10th, the Autry National Center is taking reservations for a Mother's Day brunch at its Crossroads West Cafe for the hours of 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The Mother's Day menu includes lemon, blueberry, and ricotta pancakes, scrambled eggs with chorizo, and savory egg sandwiches with house-roasted pork belly. The Autry is located at 4700 Western Heritage Way. To make a reservation for Mother's Day, call 323-495-4329. And that's a look at some upcoming things to do. And that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Ellen Chang. This just so happens to be my last show as anchor and producer of LA This Week after many wonderful years here. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and for your support during my time as host of the show. It's been a real privilege. And with that, I also want to thank all my friends here at Channel 35 and LA This Week. Yana Kay, one of our esteemed reporters, and LA This Week's new anchor. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
too, 'cause I've got trouble, holding this man of mine. It seems there's always...
Hola, soy Marisol, desde Canoga Park, la ciudad toda americana. Estás viendo LA City View, Canal 35, nuestra ciudad, nuestro canal.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Tuesday, May 5th. Shh. I want to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council meeting. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. The public is welcome. Madam Clerk, we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfeld, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Weezer, Carrasco, Krikourian, Labange, Martinez, O'Farrell, Parks, Price, Weston, 10 members present, a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Englander moves, Bonin seconds. Next.
Committed resolutions for approval.
Labange moves, O'Farrell seconds. That brings us where?
Mr. President, today is Tuesday, and now be the time for the flag salute.
Okay, if we could all rise. Mr. Englander, I'm going to ask you again to lead us in the pledge.
I'm honored, thank you. And as we recognize our first responders and those serving overseas and those that have come before us, we salute the great flag of our country. Please put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, liberty, with justice for all.
Okay, why don't we run through the agenda?
Mr. President, before we begin, there's a request to continue item 15 to May 26.
Without objection, that will be the order.
Items 1 through 17 are items for which public hearings have been held.
Okay, let's hold item 7. Members, any other specials? 6 for Mr. Labange, Mr. Parks. 17 for Mr. Parks. Mr. Bonnet?
We need to call item 9 in order to make a recommendation because it comes to council without a recommendation.
Which item?
Item 9.
So let's hold 9 as well. So let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that brings us where, Madam Clerk?
Items 18 through 35 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Cards, do we have cards from the public?
Yes, cards on items 19, 20, 24, 25, 26, 27, 29, 33, and 34.
Okay, let's hold those items. And let's, Mr. Labange? I didn't hear.
29 special.
Hold 29 for Mr. Labange. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That brings us where?
On the supplemental agenda, item 36, an item for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, so again, without objection, that item is now before this body. Mr. Price.
23, forthwith.
23 or 21 through 23.
Through 23, forthwith.
Per Mr. Price.
Please, thank you.
And we're at item 36. You have cards?
No cards.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay.
Mr. President, that brings council to general public comment or items called special or presentations.
Okay, we'll do item 20 quickly. Ms. Pearman? Donna Pearman? Item 20, if you're going to speak on it, come on. Come on, Donna. We're going to start your clock. Yes, Mr. Bonner.
While we're waiting, item 18 was a business improvement district in Palisades. If we could send that urgent forthwith so it can make it on the tax rolls.
Without objection,
Thank
that'll be the order. Okay, Ms. Pearman.
Okay, yeah, this is the funding of the bridge for the Lincoln Bridge. What I'd like to know, why did the Transportation Committee waive the consideration above? Usually goes to the committee first, and then it goes, and everything gets ironed out, and you pretty much know what is entitled. Then it comes over to the city council. So it seems rather strange that you waive the consideration first. So it seems rather backwards. And I like to know why it seems to be costing $750,000. What exactly are they going to be doing for the Lincoln Bridge? And it doesn't seem right to be spending this much when you don't have video conference in Van Nuys. Thank you.
You're not on the subject, but thank you. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Item 24, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential. If you're in the building, somebody is blocking our website here in the building, some employee.
Stay on the
number
subject.
24, this is $692,000, State Employment Development Department. We vetted this, the youth policy, Pacific Gateway, UAW. Remember, when you do a good job, I'm the first to congratulate you. I'm not one of those angry old white guys. Hey, you're all a bunch of crooks up here. You're doing an excellent job on this issue. And notice when I get off the subject and I'm praising them, they don't stop me. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Okay, let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Mr. Labange, why don't we quickly jump to 29, if that works for you. I have before, Mr. Labange, I have some cards from the public, so just, and then let me deal with that and you'll come forward. So if I could get Mr. Walsh, Ms. Pearman, and Mr. Herman. 29.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. This concerns celebrating National Travel and Tourism Week. We say get rid of the money you spend on National Tourism Week and start cleaning up the city, which is filthy when the tourists show up. I want to give you reasons why tourism is terrible in L.A. First of all, Asian tourists are not welcome in this city. We have an Asian running for city council, and the entire city council, an all-white jury,
Would you stay on the subject?
Tourists. I want you not to come here because this city council is racist. Asian tourists. I want you not to come here because the city council is trying to stop someone with yellow skin.
Now, you're off
from
the
getting
subject.
What
Thank
do
you,
mean?
Mr.
It's
Walsh.
about
No, you're
tourism.
off the subject,
It's about
Sergeants.
tourism.
Your
Shut up.
time's expired, Miss Pearman. And please do not disrupt this meeting again. And don't harass other people that are in the audience today. Ms. Pearman, on the subject.
I'm only going to talk for a short time. Apparently, I don't believe this is a good place for tourism, and it's nice that you want to do this. But in the meantime, the public transportation is not good at all. They run sporadic wherever you go, especially in the San Fernando Valley, if you want to do tourism in the San Fernando Valley. So we really need to fix up some of this things because they're very confusing. And when they close off the streets to fix it, the tourists will be stuck there waiting, not knowing what's going on with this silly Great Street initiative. So I'm not sure that the tourists will be very happy. So, and bring back video conferencing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Herman.
Mr. Speaker, as we all know that it's not unconstitutional to speak on the terms of the relative celebrating of national travel. But incidentally, as Mr. Walsh has pointed out, there are issues regarding the war on our safety here in Los Angeles. And I suggest all of you...
Would you speak into the mic?
...has mentioned that you're not safe as a tourist here unless this council subjects more monies for our safety to the police department for our protection from the city attorney as well, Mr. O'Connell.
Stay on the subject.
But within my 1 minute of time, I just want to remind the residents of Los Angeles, all you stakeholders, we the people, demand action by this council, protect our tourist guests, and provide them the Cinco de Mayo celebration that we all deserve. Cinco de Mayo!
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You're off the subject. Okay, Mr. Labange, and if we could have Ernie and the crew.
Roger, you're back down, Roger. Hold on. We have everybody here from Los Angeles Tourism, Ernie Wooden and the team there. Members, one of the greatest things about our city, it's a welcoming city, it's a diverse city. It's transformed greatly from the 1984 Olympic Games, led by the late great Mayor Tom Bradley, late great City Council President John Farrar. We have really welcomed the world. And now we're going to hear from Ernie Wooden. You've got this very important bulletin, Tourism Matters, in each of your districts, whether it's your Westfield Shopping Center in the 3rd District or down in San Pedro at the ports of call. Mr. Wooden, thank you.
Okay, Ernie, good to see you. Maria Elena, Alan, good to see you all. We are excited about what you have to say. I'm just going to ask in advance, be sensitive to the time.
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, President Wesson and honored ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, and thank you very much for your time. We're delighted to be here this morning and appreciative of this opportunity. You know me, Ernest Wooden Jr., the President and CEO of the Los Angeles Tourism and Convention Board, and I'm thrilled to be joined today by important members of our tourism community who also sit on our board of directors. I'd like to introduce them to you. Alan Rothenberg is the founder and chairman of First Century Bank and also our chairman. Maria Elena Durazo, Vice President for Immigration, Diversity, and Civil Rights for Unite Here. Larry Kurzweil is the President and Chief Operating Officer of Universal Studios Hollywood. Javier Cano is our Vice President and Market General Manager of the Ritz-Carlton Los Angeles and the JW Marriott Los Angeles at LA Live. We're here today to talk about why tourism matters in Los Angeles, and what a better time for this conversation than National Travel and Tourism Week, a nationwide initiative to celebrate the impact that tourism has on our local economy. Our chairman of the board, Alan Rothenberg, will now share with you some exciting news.
Thank you. And thank you, President Wesson and members of the council. As you know, in January, we had a press conference with the mayor. It was attended by President Wesson and by council members Bonin and Buscaino, where we talked about the record-breaking year that we had in 2014 for tourism. We got great news to share with you today that things are actually better than what we had announced in 2014. The numbers are really staggering. We welcomed an impressive 44.2 million visitors last year, which was an increase of 5% over the prior year. This figure is being announced for the first time today, and it's been validated independently by Tourism Economics and Oxford Economics Company. Those 44.2 million visitors directly spent a record $19.6 billion on our hotels, attractions, restaurants, shopping, and more. This 6.8% increase over 2013 results in $30.2 billion in total macroeconomic impact on the city and its surrounding areas. So as you can see, tourism does matter. It's continued to have a significant impact on our local economy year over year, and though the numbers are not in yet, the first quarter results at LAX are way up, so that would indicate that we're going to have even a better year this year. And now it's my pleasure to introduce somebody who needs no introduction to you, Maria Elena Durazo.
Good morning. Good morning, President Wesson and members of the City Council. I'm here on behalf of the countless employees who are members of the tourism community, from hotel and restaurant workers, men and women, to our taxi operators, and many hundreds of thousands who benefit from tourism. The leisure and hospitality industry was the fastest growing sector for job growth in 2014, and that's verified by the California Employment Development Department. Tourism is a significant driver of this sector, and it helped to support 464,000 jobs. So you should know tourism helped employ 1 in every 9 workers across the county, and 96,000 new jobs. Of those 96,000 new jobs in LA, 26% were within this industry. So we are the leading job growth sector in the county. And this growth is over 6% from the year before. So I just, again, I know you all care about the men and women who work in this industry. This is not only about numbers and statistics. This is about real men and women having a job, having a good job, and employing primarily women, people of color, immigrants, African Americans. This is a very important industry to the economy of Los Angeles. And now, my brother here, Larry Kurzweil of Universal Studios.
Thank you, Maria. President Wesson and members of the council, my privilege to be here. I've met many of you during the past year. Pardon my very colorful slide up on top. This is the entertainment business that I am in. We have had a unique 50-year association with Los Angeles. No, let's go back one slide. We've had a unique 50-year association with Los Angeles. This is our 50th anniversary, and we are the #1 tourist destination in Los Angeles. Tourism is all about the economy and a driver of key economic vitality in our lives. We make a difference in jobs, we make a difference in prosperity, we make a difference in dreams. On the next slide, I can share with you, and I have told a number of people in the last 7 to 8 months, a $1 billion transformation is underway at Universal Studios Hollywood. And one of the reasons why I like to share it in a public forum such as this is oftentimes you hear of companies that are going to spend in the future, and they have approvals to do all kinds of activities. Well, this is actually happening. This $1 billion is well underway, and we are already affecting the lives, jobs, and the economic train of Los Angeles. In just the past year, and if I can bring smiles to your face, that's what $1 million does. In the past year, we opened up a major new attraction that resulted in record attendance into our theme park last year. This year, we have 3 major new things underway, coincidental with our 50th anniversary. In 2 months, we'll be opening up a Fast and Furious attraction, which also happens to be the largest movie in the history of Universal, a new nighttime studio tour. And if you love anything about this, the Simpsons family, you have to see the new home of Springfield happening at Los Angeles Universal Studios Hollywood. Now, this is all really good stuff, but it really comes down to where's the $1 billion payoff and what's going to happen next year. The biggest news of all on the next page is within the next year, we will be opening up the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. This will be an epic transformation in the tourism landscape of Los Angeles. In 2010 in Orlando, the first Harry Potter opened up, and it forever changed the economy and hopes and future of Orlando. 4 years later, in 2014, no one thought it could be done again. They opened up a second Harry Potter world called Diagon Alley. The numbers are off the charts. And also last year in Osaka, Japan, we opened up another Harry Potter land, and the record numbers coming out of Japan are now part of a new mantle of economic prosperity in that side of the country. Coming to Los Angeles next year, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter will forever change the landscape of tourism here. And I'm proud to tell you we're on schedule, and you'll all be enjoying a butter beer in some time shortly, but affecting jobs, affecting taxes, and affecting the number of millions of people who come to Los Angeles. My last point, Ernie talks often about the 50 million number of people that we are on target to hit. Harry Potter will get us to the 50 million, and I say that with pride, and I'll be keeping you up to date on that target.
And we're very excited, and I can't wait.
Yeah, great, thank you.
All right. Good morning,
morning,
President Wesson, members of the council. The Tourism Marketing District, which was established not too long ago, has been a game changer. It's really allowed the industry and the city to partner together to promote Los Angeles around the world. And since the TMD has been established, LA Tourism has been aggressively promoting the city, the destination in key markets. And we have had an opportunity to see the What's Your Story promotion, although a lot of the residents here in Los Angeles really haven't had a chance to see that. But it's been very, very effective. And as you can see from the picture that we put up, we don't mind having a little bit of fun at the expense of our friends on the East Coast, taking a little shot at New York City and the fun weather they have compared to ours. But we are also very excited to say that this year we've been able to begin promotion in China, which clearly is the #1 growth market that we have internationally. Another area that Angelenos don't get a chance to see very much is our robust public relations and social media campaigns. There's a lot of effort that goes into making these, and we actually brought a short video to give you an opportunity to see some of the highlights.
Let's move out west to Venice Beach, California. What's the biggest attraction out there if you're going that way?
You know, the best thing to do in Venice Beach is free. The people watching.
Yes. Yeah.
The bodybuilders. You know, it's eccentric, over the top. The Muscle Beach and the Venice Beach Skate Park. It's all free to enjoy. Now, rent a bike too, $10 an hour. And there's lots of great paths all the way from Marina del Rey up to Malibu.
Hit the LA Zoo in hopes of capturing a vine-worthy moment. Here you go.
I've got my map, I've got my backpack, and I'm ready to see LA! Woo!
I mean, maybe you'd like to come to LA on a holiday once you answer that phone. It is permanently summer here.
I am coming to you from the world-famous Roosevelt Hotel on Hollywood Boulevard, the home of the very first Academy Awards.
Los Angeles, this is the entertainment capital of the world.
Those are some amazing results.
Impressive.
We're actually going to increase our message now on the campaign of What's Your LA Story, and we're going to encourage visitors to get to know on a deeper level exploring our distinct neighborhoods here in Los Angeles. Over the past 6 months, LA Tourism has shot videos that represent 30 different areas across the 5 key regions, all the way from the LA waterfront all the way up through the valley. And to drive hotel stays, we have taken that one step further, and approximately 100 videos have been done of the Tourism Marketing District partner hotels. Today I'd like to give you a sneak peek at some of this neighborhood initiative and some of which we'll be rolling out soon.
Big, bold, and wonderfully eclectic, Los Angeles is a must-see for travelers from all over the world. Maybe it's the contagious energy our year-round perfect weather seems to inspire, the magic of the movies, or our appetite for all that's what's next. Yet, for all its power to intrigue, LA can be overwhelming, especially to first-time visitors. The Los Angeles Tourism and Convention Board and the Tourism Marketing District wanted to change that by inviting visitors to experience LA on a deeper level while driving increased hotel stays at the same time. So we rolled our cameras across the 5 main regions of Los Angeles to show that each neighborhood, from the LA waterfront to the San Fernando Valley, has its own unique LA story to tell. We captured the locations, characteristics, and amenities of each neighborhood and produced 1 to 2 minute videos that contain the best of more than 30 locales. The videos reside on discoverlosangeles.com/neighborhoods and are promoted via digital display advertising, native content, social media, print media, out of home, and the Discover Los Angeles website. Click by click, visitors can discover that downtown LA consists of several distinct neighborhoods. They can plan to explore the Venice and greater LAX areas, uncover hotspots across the San Fernando Valley, experience Hollywood nightlife, West Side art and shopping, and find attractions and museums all over Los Angeles. As travelers get to know LA's heart and soul through its unique neighborhoods, we're looking forward to welcoming millions more visitors this year and for years to come.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Javier. And President Wesson and members of City Council, we want to thank you today for your time. We wish we had more time because there's so many exciting things to tell you about. However, we'll continue to update the Council's various committees on our efforts. We leave you with this closing thought. These stellar results that we've reported on this morning mean that we are very, very much on pace to reach our North Star goal of attracting 50 million visitors by 2020. As you can see today, tourism indeed does matter to our local economy, and we thank you again for your time this morning.
No, we thank you, Mr. Laban.
Mr. Wood and everyone at the table, thank you very much. I just want to encourage, as my time is coming soon, have a deputy in each of your offices working with the Los Angeles Tourist Board. So important. Mr. Price has been in home runs. I wish they were touchdowns, but home runs all the time, and great dunks down at LA Live. I know Mr. Price has some things to say.
Well, Mr., if you could wait for a few moments, I do have members on the queue. Maybe they have a question or two. We'll start with Mr. Price, followed by Mr. Englander.
Thank you, Mr. President. No questions, really, but just want to certainly applaud the board for its efforts. I think we're on our way to reaching those 50 million. I think it's important. And I'm excited with the neighborhood initiative because I think this is just what we're talking about in terms of cultural tourism. We want to attract visitors not only from the United States but from worldwide to other areas of our city. Leimert Park, Little Tokyo, Alvera Street, places that they might not know of. And so I'm pleased to see this neighborhood initiative. Hope we can get that even as a more focused effort to really encourage and to identify the unique opportunities and unique resources that exist in the LA community. And I think our success in achieving this 50 million really provides a platform and an opportunity to reach out to neighborhoods that we normally don't reach out to. And so I hope you'll take advantage of this buoyancy that we have, take advantage of the interest that you're generating, and to continue to focus efforts not only on our large attractions at Universal Studios or at LA Live, but in the neighborhoods, offering the unique cultural, ethnic diversity that I think is really the strength of our city. So congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you, sir.
So now we have Mitchell followed by Mitch. Mitchell Englander followed by Mitchell Fair.
Thank you. Thank you. What you guys are doing is probably one of the most important things we can do to bring revenue to this city. And you talk about what tourism does, and I think you guys captured it so well. From employment, increased local community pride and spending, diversification, infrastructure, public safety. These are the best dollars that we can yield because people come here, they spend money in transportation and entertainment, recreation, retail, hospitality, food, beverage, creating jobs and production and opportunities that would otherwise not be here. They are the best dollars we could ever generate, not only for those jobs in those industries, but without raising taxes, all that money coming back into our local economy, providing phenomenal opportunities. And I want to thank you for what you've done in highlighting areas and regions of the city of Los Angeles. You mentioned I went in your Valley video, Brent's Deli's in there, made the cut. Got to have Brent's in there, and I really appreciate it. But you've recognized that, and it's terrific. And as we see that come back to Los Angeles, we see the direct benefits because people invest in the community pride. They put on cultural activities and events because of the tourists coming here, and it's terrific. In fact, many of them want to stay here, and we've seen that population grow as well. A question to you all. Has there been, and I've noticed we've got some other cities and participants in there. I saw Glendale's in one of the videos and Santa Monica, which is great because people come here and they want to go all over the place, and there's a lot of benefits. We've got, not too far, Six Flags Magic Mountain. Certainly the guy that lives right down the street, Mickey Mouse, who a lot of people come to Disney. And, in fact, Anaheim's captured that essence and said, well, we're going to call the Angels Los Angeles Angels because we're going to capitalize on Los Angeles. So we get it. Have we had an opportunity or reached out maybe to look at JPAs or MOUs and trying to bring all those dollars together to say, okay, we're going to market this region because the more people that come here, the more money we can get in advertising to spend in other places, whether it's overseas or even in other states. The more people we get here, the more we know for sure they're going to stay here in Los Angeles. What are we doing in terms of that direction?
We are, and thank you for that question, Councilman. We are at the Tourism Board acutely aware and interested in how we can leverage the marketing dollars of other destination marketing organizations around us. And we have a constant outreach to them to find ways that we can co-promote the region. We've been particularly successful in places like China, which is our #1 overseas market. We're growing those relationships where we can. There's some places where we are competitive, but in terms of marketing the region, there's a great need and an interest from all of those smaller DMOs around us to do just that. So, yes, there's an ongoing effort to try to leverage those marketing dollars the best we can.
Well, we see the direct benefits and the numbers, just the sheer numbers that are coming in, are definitely attributed to the work that you guys are doing without question. Because you're doing a lot more than we've ever done before to market LA, and you're doing it well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Mitch O'Farrell, followed by Mr. Bonin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to thank the convention, the Tourism Board as well. Incredible work. I think we can get to $50 million by 2020. I mean, you're on track. I mean, since 2011, you've already increased tourism by about $3 million. So I think if we increase that, I can tell you that it's not just Universal City, it's not just Venice Beach, it's not just Hollywood. And as far as Mr. Price mentioned, I think cultural tourism is a prime opportunity in the city, not just the 13th, but across the city. I think we can build on our greatest strength, which is our diversity. And we have to remember, I have to remember this because we're Angelenos and we get complacent. We have the best brand in the world, Los Angeles, Hollywood, Venice Beach, Universal Studios. It is a brand that other places try to mimic. They try to recreate. And I'm happy to say that we have hundreds, several hundred hotel rooms under construction in Hollywood right now. And in the coming few years, we're going to have in the thousands. So Hollywood is moving forward, despite what gets said in the media, as never before. And that's a good thing because we need to accommodate these additional 6 million tourists that are going to be here by 2020. And with that, we're also working, my office is working very, very diligently on measures to improve the tourist experience in Hollywood. So it's incumbent upon all of us to participate, and we're pulling on the same rope here to increase tourism. So I just wanted to rise and say that. And I'm happy to work as one of the districts that sees a large percentage of the tourists coming in. I want to keep them in Hollywood longer. I want to make sure their experience is better so they can go back to their home countries and home states and tell everyone that they've had a great experience, because word of mouth is the very, very best advertising tool. So I stand with you, and I want to also just applaud Mr. Price and Mr. LaBonge for their leadership on this as well. So thank you and congratulations. Let's get to 50.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Bonin, followed by Mr. Huizar.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thanks all of you for this. As someone who, like Mr. O'Farrell, represents an area that sees a lot of tourists, I'm very happy to see the work that you've been doing. I'm really particularly delighted to see the videos, as Patty McJennett and others who worked for the Convention and Visitors Bureau for a while will tell you. I have a pet peeve that whenever I see that darn Ferris wheel in Santa Monica in our promotional videos and we don't see Venice, it gets me a little upset. So I was glad to see Venice.
We fixed that.
Prominent. Thank you very much. I'm very glad to see that. It was very good to see, and it really showed, I thought, the diversity of Los Angeles. I loved that you've done the neighborhoods, because this really is a city of neighborhoods. And if you go and you stay in one place in Los Angeles and you just get on a tourist bus and something like that, you're not seeing the city. You're not experiencing the city. So I thought this was exceptionally well done. One correction, you list Little Osaka. The community has now changed the name as of about a month and a half ago. It's now Sawtell Japantown. It has the official city signage up. We had a big celebration with hundreds of people after the community participated in that process. So if you could make that correction, that would be cool. Wanted to say a couple thank yous to a couple of you, though. I mean, thanks to all of you for your work. I mean, Javier, who I've known for almost 20 years now, he got his... well, I got to know him when he was working in CD11 for a hotel near LAX. But Alan, I wanted to thank you because a lot of what we're being able to see right now is a result of the work that's happening at LAX and the way we're modernizing and improving our airport. And colleagues, many of you may not remember because it was before you were on the council, but under the previous mayor, Alan was the president of our Board of Airport Commissioners, and it was under his watch that a lot of the groundwork for the LAX modernization we're now seeing was first placed. So I wanted to thank you for that. And it's important that Mary Elena is here, and it's important also to note that the work she's done and continues to do, because if we do not pay our workers a decent wage, if we do not create an opportunity for the people who work in the hospitality industry, whether it's our hotels, our restaurants, our valets, everywhere in Los Angeles, our reputation as a great city to visit won't flourish. We need to pay people well so that they are satisfied and so they are happy when they're serving our visitors. And we've done a lot in that regard over the past 10 years, and we've got a lot more. This is a hot issue in committee this afternoon to help further that. So I just wanted to thank you for that, thank all of you for that, and look forward to seeing more of this stuff.
Mr. Huizar and then Mr. Cedillo.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the wonderful presentation and the work you're doing to continue to make LA a destination point for people throughout the world. I wanted to underscore the importance that the revenue provides for us in terms of us providing our public safety, our parks, our libraries, and certainly getting up to $50 million. It'll allow us to improve those services for the city. I wanted to emphasize what is happening in downtown as well. There's $11 billion in development occurring right now in downtown LA. It's not the downtown LA of yesteryear where it was just Bunker Hill. Come 5 o'clock, people would turn off the light switch and it was no person's land there. Those $11 billion is moving downtown LA from a place where it was just a job center and the population that used to live here moved out. now it's becoming more of an entertainment area. It's going to be the future of downtown LA is an entertainment area, and it's what GQ magazine called one of the coolest new downtowns in the country. But with that, we're excited about the expansion of the convention center that will allow us to continue to attract more conventions. We're excited about building more hotels as well as we are in Hollywood. And a lot of this is possible because of the professionals who work in the tourism industry, from the restaurants to the people who work at the hotels, folks that are encouraging and doing the hard work here as well. So we want to thank them as well. This is a great presentation, but working together, as you heard our colleagues, there's little niches throughout LA that can make this possible. But I think one of the most unique things about Los Angeles is that no matter what country you're talking about, we oftentimes say we have the largest concentration of fill in the blank here in Los Angeles. I think that's very unique for us as one of the most diverse cities in the world, because we have those connections that people could identify with throughout the world. And that goes to speak as well to cultural tourism, as well as being able to connect to a lot of these countries in a way that many other cities cannot. So thank you for your work, and we appreciate it. Working together, we'll get to that 50 million. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cedillo, followed by Mr. Buscaino.
Mr. President, I know you want us to be efficient in our language, but let me add my voice to the chorus. You guys do an incredible job. I hope that you share all of this with the Chamber of Commerce and all the other business entities of the region, because it's so important for us to have boosters for the region. I think too much for over the last 15, 20 years, I've heard from business all the bad things that they believe are part of the region, and none of the support for the region. And then to hear you, it's just such a great new voice to hear. Send these videos to the State Chamber, will you? Because this is all I heard my 15 years in Sacramento. What a horrible place it was to do business here, and contrary to all the evidence that you've demonstrated. Second, let me add to you, or let me add my voice. We have a magazine in my district called One Voice, and it promotes the district, and it does exactly what Mr. Price says. There is richness in each and every district in this city for organic, authentic cultural tourism. Coffee shops. We have a Latin Jazz Music Festival. We're coming into our second year. We have art walks, bookshops. I mean, all the districts have this, and I'm very proud of our district, our developments in Highland Park, in Lincoln Heights, the Pico Union area, the new areas of walking space and green space that we're creating, all our enhancements of the parks. We are really creating destinations for tourists to come and visit. Our collaboration with Occidental College and the Loomis House with Occidental College and Southwest Museum are very noteworthy. If you're sitting in some other place around the country and you're looking for a place to come to visit, those become destination places. And so I want you to continue, but to amplify and go down a little deeper in terms of what is offered, these authentic, organic, cultural destinations that exist in each and every district in this city. Yes, it started with Olvera Street, but almost every street in Los Angeles is Olvera Street now. And there's just great restaurants and cafes and places to dine. And so I'm just standing up to applaud all of you for what you're doing. Mr. Weezer has a new hotel that's opening up that had a tremendous success in New York. The Nomad has been a great destination in New York, and now we're very excited to see that they're going to be here in Los Angeles. And then finally, as my colleague said, there is something, though, about a well-paid workforce. Because people are happy at work, they really demonstrate it in the service industry. There's probably no other place more so that you see it. And
hospitality.
Growing up in the city, knowing all our great places, our Cliftons and our kind of more working class dining, our Langers, all our great places that pay their workers well. You get that smile, you get that service. Felipe's, right? Philippe's and Felipe's. Serenata, Tepeyac, Tom's been to all of them. You know, if you're having dinner any night, Tom will pop his head in. You'll see him say hello. You know, but all those places are very important. And the point is that in that service industry, we really need to make sure that industry is one that we can be very proud of, pays its workers well, because that's where we get the quality of service that is essential to really one of our key pillars of our economy in the region. So, just again, I applaud you and thank you very much for all your work.
Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. Buscaino to close.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Mr. Cedillo, we're trying, as all the streets are indicated, Alvera Street, we're trying to get a little Italy down at the harbor area. And one of those. You know, I want to offer my congratulations to my colleagues that have really embraced tourism, and to the tourism board who's continued to focus on different parts of the city, like Hollywood, Venice Beach, downtown Los Angeles. But yet again, the harbor area is ignored. And as much as we're focusing on neighborhoods, let me share a fact with you. 700,000 cruise passengers last year came through San Pedro and Wilmington. And you know what? We didn't see hardly any of them. In fact, had it not been for flight attendants filling our hotels today in San Pedro, these beds would be empty. So I'm calling on action. We're doing everything we can to promote our LA waterfront through the work with the Port of Los Angeles, the Economic Development Department, the mayor's office. But as a police officer, I've seen poverty. I've seen the despicable choices poverty puts on people. We have poverty issues in San Pedro and Wilmington. And in my years as a police officer working in downtown Los Angeles, in Hollywood, on the west side, I've seen what tourism can do to weed people out of poverty, to put people back to work, to help with our general fund dollars. So again, please, on behalf of the Wilmington and San Pedro residents, we urge action, and I need you to continue to put pressure both on the port, on the development community, on the mayor's office, and the state as well, because we're restricted by some state tidelands, and look forward to bringing some prosperity down to the waterline, the LA waterline. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buscaino, and I want to thank each and every one of you for that very positive report, and I can't wait to see you when I travel across the mountain bear. Anyway, thank you for your very positive report.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, we'll note and file this item and move on to the next item. The next item will be item 7. And I just wanted to hold this for a minute so that I could say that in the district that I represent, it's a very park poor area. And within the district that I represent, we have Koreatown, which is even more park poor. I believe that there are other districts like this throughout the city, and what it takes to build parks and recreational centers is a different creativity. So what we have going today is a creative process where we're going to take a library, a parking lot, and kind of
Welcome. My name is Brad Pomerantz, and it is my pleasure to join the Los Angeles City Council member for the 1st District for the River Report with Ed Reyes. Now, on this program, we will be discussing the rousing revitalization of the Los Angeles River with 2 students from Valley College, and later on we'll speak with 2 other students from that same institution. So stay tuned for the River Report. Welcome to the River Report with Ed Reyes, a half-hour introduction to and discussion with the tireless folks who are dedicating themselves.
Okay, Mr. Bonin, we're going to quickly do item 9, and then we're going to move to Mr. Huizar.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, what we have before us with item 9 is the recommendation from the Mayor's Office and from LADOT that we award the parking meter coin collection and counting contract to SP Plus. It's a 5-year contract with options. We have used Serco since 1995. Their contract expired in 2010 and has been extended for 4 years and lately has been on a month-to-month contract, which is really not a great way to do business. In April of 2012, the then controller recommended that in order to shift our risk of loss for dealing with all this money, that we go to an outside contract. In September of 2012, DOT released an RFP, and we are now, about 2.5 years later, at the end of that process, and staff is recommending we award the contract to SP Plus. They based this on a best value analysis and determined that there was a significant gain in value to the City of Los Angeles by going with SP Plus. They said that the project stood out because of its use of technology that will allow LADOT to monitor collection performance, to obtain an exact count of the meters collected, to report back on any broken meters in real time. It's also important to note that while we are getting more money from parking meters over the past few years, we are actually getting a lot less of it from coins because people are using more credit cards, and we have the technology that enables that. The SP contract enables that trend continuing and allows us to pay them less if they actually collect fewer times. So I would like to move that we follow the LADOT recommendation and award the contract to SP Plus.
Mr. Koretz was the second by Mr. Englander. Mr. Koretz?
Not always, but pretty good. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm still struggling with this issue a little bit. I voted in favor of it in committee, but I pointed out that it was 51-49 vote in my own head. I wonder if we have staff that could speak to a couple questions.
Good morning, council members. Robert Andalon, LADOT.
Actually, I really have one question, but it's kind of multi-parted. We were told, we've heard arguments on both sides about whether having waited what is it, a couple of years and change from the start to end of this program is fiscally better for us or worse. We know that credit cards have taken over. There's a lot fewer coins to collect. We know we have smart meters, so we know when roughly those meters are full. We can set this up so there'll be many fewer visits to the same meters. Obviously there'd be, in theory, less overhead and less expense per meter. So it's argued on one side that this actually saves us money because we set up an RFP that is now less advantageous to the companies that bid on it. It's also argued by Serco that it actually would cost less per meter to service these, and that if you rebid it, both companies would come in with a lower bid. So I'm really struggling to figure out which it is, and I want to take one more shot at that. If you could enlighten us as to whether we are really better positioned right now because this took a long time and things have changed, or whether we're actually positioned worse because if we rebid, we could take more advantage of that change.
Yes, I believe the department and the city is better off because of the delay, if you will. Both bids were predicated on the number of meters that were being collected at the time that the RFP was released. Since that time, we've seen a drop of almost 500,000 meters collections per year. So now the pricing, excuse me, that the pricing that the city would receive would be less. Additionally, a couple of other facts to consider. In the last and best final offer, Serco did indicate that if there was a 10% drop in the number of meters being collected, that they would opt to have a reopening language. In the number of years that we've actually done contract monitoring and contract administration, there has never been a situation where a vendor has actually reopened the contract to give the city a better price. The second component is in the last contract extension that we have with Serco, they actually increased the price per meter collected based on the fact that there are less number of meters being collected now, which would seem to support the idea that it's in the best interest of the city to go forward with the bid as currently constituted.
No, their argument is that with the fewer number of meters collected, they can pay for less equipment and do things more efficiently, and that they would wind up bidding at a lower amount now, and that both sides would do that. Do you think that's the case? And if it was the case, would it not be more beneficial?
No, I do not believe that would be the case. I think that there's a certain amount of security that was provided for in the RFP response by SP, which is above and beyond what Serco had provided. I believe that the city would be in a better place, both financially as well as from a security standpoint.
All right, thank you.
Seeing as there are no speakers on the queue, we will now do a roll call. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the votes.
15 ayes.
And Mr. Jose Huizar for presentations.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And we just heard a song by Arturo Cid Orapina, a famous saxophonist from Tehuacan, Puebla, where wind instruments are very popular. And what he played was Que Chula es Puebla. Let's give him another round of applause. Thank you. And I'm here with my colleagues, Council Members Martinez, Fuentes, and Cendillo. And it gives me great pleasure to present in Council chambers a resolution in honor of Cinco de Mayo and the Batalla de Puebla's 153rd anniversary. We were here on Friday where we presented the mayor of Puebla with a resolution to thank him for his hard work and his relationships he has developed with the city of LA. And today we are celebrating what is celebrated in Mexico and the United States as the famous battle that took place at the capital of Puebla when an ill-equipped Mexican army defeated the better armed and trained French army on May 5th, 1862, 153 years ago today. And the Battle of Puebla came to represent a symbol of Mexican unity and patriotism. And almost as quickly here in the United States, the battle became a cry to defend democracy and defeat slavery in Mexico and the United States, which was, as our good friend who couldn't be here today, Dr. David Hayes Bautistas, has shown in his research, Mexicans and Mexican Americans celebrating Cinco de Mayo together to defeat a common enemy. The holiday later took hold as a good neighborhood gesture between the United States and Mexico in the 1950s, and then as a symbol of overcoming adversity in the 1960s and 70s among Chicanos fighting for civil rights here in the United States. And today, Cinco de Mayo has become like a St. Patrick's Day, where everybody gets to be Mexican for a day and has a good time. But thanks to Dr. Hayes Bautista's research, we see beyond that and can pay tribute to this important period in our history on both sides of the border. Someone who is a huge supporter of preserving our Mexican history and culture is our very own Mexican General Counsel, Carlos Sada. And thank you, sir, for being here. He will speak in just a moment. We also have Ricardo Herrera, who is the director of Mi Casa es Puebla, which just opened last year. Bienvenido. ¿Dónde está? Estaba tomando fotos el otro vez. Gracias, bienvenido. Also here, as they are every year, we have UPEX, the Unión de Poblanos en el Exterior, who are doing great work advocating for Poblanos here in Los Angeles. And today we are also joined by friends visiting us from Puebla, and I want to thank them for taking the trip up to celebrate Cinco de Mayo here in the city of Los Angeles. I'm honored, of course, to have my colleagues, and I want to invite up to the microphone Nuri Martinez, who will also say a few words.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councilmember Huizar. Today we recognize Cinco de Mayo as a salute to overcoming great obstacles and an inspiration for many generations. While la Batalla de Puebla took place in 1862, the U.S. was locked in a civil war and feared that the French would break through our nation and break us apart and invade us during the Batalla of Puebla. But soon the word spread that these courageous soldiers, Mexican Americans in 1862, California celebrated in the streets when they heard about their brothers and sisters defeating the strong military army. Soon the Union of Soldiers were encouraged by this bold group of soldiers in Puebla, and the soldiers here in the United States wrote letters of encouragement to commemorate the event. In the Mexican Revolution, women fought during the Mexican Revolution, and they formed something called Las Soldaderas. And out of these stories of the Batalla de Puebla, they were encouraged and formed their own army and joined forces during the Civil War. And I think it's important to note that out of these courageous soldiers in La Batalla de Puebla, women were able to take up arms and defend their country. And so in Cinco de Mayo, a lot of people sometimes confuse it for Mexican Independence Day. It is not Mexican Independence Day. It's a very notable different war in the time of Mexico. It's La Batalla de Puebla. And so today I hope that this nation understands the significance of El Cinco de Mayo, and that we continue to support our brothers and sisters in Mexico during the celebration of this important point in history in Mexico. So thank you very much, Mr. Huizar, and thank you all of our friends from Puebla that are here this morning to celebrate. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And thank you, Ms. Martinez. And certainly when you visit Puebla and you go to the many museums there, they recognize the role that women played in this very important battle. And thank you for reminding of that, Ms. Martinez. And also with us is Felipe Fuentes, who is acknowledging with us this celebration. And we also have Councilmember Gil Cedillo, who will also share a few words. Councilmember?
Juxtapose me there. The significance today became more meaningful in the 50s and 60s as Mexican Americans began to search for their place in American society. A minority population at the time, Mexican Americans were looking for identity. And it was during that time period that the Cinco de Mayo celebration began to become more prevalent on the university campuses, on colleges, and schools throughout the states with significant Mexican American population. But as has been stated, the presence, and the Mexican presence within the footprint of the United States has always been there and has always celebrated this unique holiday that is both American and Mexican in its substance, in its content, and in its history. And what's significant about it is that it signifies a people determined to prevail under adverse circumstances in pursuit of democratic ideals What's significant today is that a community continues to struggle for their place in American society and for their recognition. 11 million undocumented immigrants today are part and parcel of our economy, and we heard an incredible presentation about tourism. They are the foundation of that industry in this city, state, and nation, and play a significant part in many other industries of our economy. And yet, they continue to battle, much like those who battled in Puebla, for their identity, for their place, for their status. And so today, the new call around Cinco de Mayo is one that calls for comprehensive immigration reform, for support of our president and his efforts to implement executive orders around DACA and DAPA, and for the ongoing battles of full implementation and recognition of important victories like the California driver's license and the California DREAM Act. So, some thoughts to share as we celebrate Cinco de Mayo. There was a great celebration in my apartment building this Sunday, and it's interesting to note how that holiday, or that sense of a holiday, has permeated much of American society. But we are here to say that is much more than simply a holiday to celebrate. It is not the beginning of the summer or the beer season, but actually has some important political place in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cedillo. I also want to acknowledge the China Poblana outfit who's here with us today. The skirts often are an important symbol, such as the Mexican eagle, and are very elaborate. The detailed beadwork can take weeks to complete, and they are a source of great pride for the Poblano community. So it's a beautiful dress, and thank you for being here with us today. And with that, let me ask Mexican Consul General Sada to also share a few words with us.
Gracias. Thank you.
Welcome, Consul General.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wesson. I'm delighted to be here again. Was here only last week, Friday, and I want to thank all of you for recognizing Cinco de Mayo as a very important occasion for a lot of things. And I want to praise Mr. Wizard, Mr. Fuentes, Mr. Cedillo, Mr. Martinez for helping us in celebrating. But it is not just celebration. I've been attending so many different events since last Friday, and in different cities around LA County, and of course within LA City. And I'm so glad that there's going to, in action, a lot of different things occurring between Mexico and Los Angeles County, which is giving scholarships, which is exchanging the students, which is doing better business, and which is also more visitors from Mexico coming to LA, as it was mentioned here before. So that is the meaning, I would say, of this important celebration. Of course, there is a lot of tequila, cerveza, and fiesta, but there is also, a depthness in the relationship. And what UPEX, for instance, UPEX is the union of Poblanos, of guys from Puebla, in the exterior out of Mexico. And what I think is happening here is that we are building binational communities, that we are understanding each other better, that people that were born here and have Mexican origin, they identify also as Americans and as Mexicans, and they can have the dual nationality. While they are here, they are U.S. citizens. If they go to Mexico and they get the U.S. certificate, the Mexican certificate, they are Mexican citizens. So this is how we are projecting the process of integration between Mexico and the United States. It is not just in the economic front. It is also on how societies are understanding much better. And this is what is the meaning of Cinco de Mayo. Cinco de Mayo, it is the most recognizable date in the relationship between Mexico and the United States. Of course, it is not independence, but it's a very important battle, as it was said before. In the historical front, you know that during the Cinco de Mayo battle, 1862, Benito Juárez was the president of Mexico and Abraham Lincoln was the president of the United States. And they exchanged letters of support. While you were in a civil war in Mexico, we were having this invasion of the French. So what is not being because of the support of each other, I do not know what happened to us right now. So we are so thrilled that here in LA, here in this so important chamber. It is so well recognized, Cinco de Mayo, and I want to praise, of course, the role of all the people that is here. And just a few words in Spanish. Muchísimas gracias. Muchas gracias a todos por celebrar este 5 de mayo con tanta intensidad y tanta profundidad. Muchísimas gracias.
And muchísimas gracias, Consul. And now it's our pleasure to present this resolution to Don Alfredo Gomez and Lourdes Juarez of UPEX, representing the Poblano community on behalf of the city of Los Angeles, as we once again celebrate Cinco de Mayo here in the city of Los Angeles. Felicidades y gracias por estar con nosotros. Gracias. I also want to mention that later today there will be some traditional Poblano candy delivered to each council member's office. And as you see here on your desk, there is a small flower arrangement with 2 coins, one with President Lincoln and Juarez shaking hands, and the other of General Zaragoza, who led the Mexican army. And we had festivities on Sunday at El Pueblo, and tonight there will be a screening of the movie Cinco de Mayo, La Batalla de Pueblo at Mi Casa es Puebla. And on Thursday at the Mexican Consulate, there will be an event on the meaning of Cinco de Mayo by Dr. David Hayes Bautista and a photo exhibit by 16-year-old Sebastián Rojo Fernández, who is here today also from Tehuacán, Puebla. Que viva la Batalla de Puebla y que viva México y que viva los Estados Unidos. Thank you very much.
Mr. Labange, floor is yours.
Mr. President, this is a special day for our guest here, Roger Howard, but it's a kind of a typical day down here in the council chambers. You may not recognize Roger, who's so dressed up so nicely this morning, and his beautiful family is here. Roger used to stand on either side of the president of the city council. Roger is Fox's top cameraman, who's now retired. Give Roger Howard a big hand right now. He grew up in Los Angeles. He went to James Monroe High School. James Monroe High School, where in 1969, what year did you graduate? 70. In 1969, Monroe beat Marshall, like 31 to 17. But we remember when we went out to that stadium there, Mr. President, gas, I remember at the Gulf on Nordhoff, is it Nordhoff there, was $19.21 and 21 cents right there at that period of time. But from James Monroe to Valley College and on through as Roger's career, where he landed in television as a cameraman. And over these years, in this time, he worked with such iconic reporters as Stan Chambers, Laura Erickson, John Beard, Jane Wells, Chris Harris, Tony Valdez, Christina Gonzalez, Chris Blatford from Fox 11 News, how he gives that little break in between. You always got to keep that camera rolling on that. He's witnessed many of the stories that have changed the landscape of our city, such as the Ross clothing store, where the gas from heavy rains that year caused the gas from the Park La Brea tar pits to go to the sidewalk. Someone lit a Territon right there at 3rd and Ogden, and there was a little fire that stopped the subway until we got it going again. But that was a very memorable moment. The Northridge and Loma Prieta earthquakes, the North Hollywood shootout at the Bank of America, which was a very big tragedy, and the Michael Jackson and O.J. trials, the Night Stalker cases, and countless more. Roger has seen that history through the lens of his camera, reporting to the public through his television media. He also shot live from the riots and also from the Sky Fox helicopter, which really was a dramatic event at that time. Coverage of the Burlington Street fire, which was a tragedy, took place. Over a dozen lives in 1993, caused for change in our housing laws. And that news that you captured and formatted did help in making a better decision how housing should be conducted in this area here. He's, besides winning the first of his 5 Emmys, he helped change the policy, as I mentioned, on fire doors in our apartments. Also, he has met countless celebrities, including Bob Hope, Paul Newman, Sophia Loren, Hugh Hefner, Bill Clinton, Tommy Lasorda, and Mikhail Gorbachev. I'd take Sophia Loren first. Okay, that's just me. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, and I happen to be around those same people too, and our lives have crossed. He's extremely proud to his wife and his filmmaker, who's a documentary filmmaker, Stephanie Howard, son Rod, deputy to the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Santa Clarita Station, beautiful baby right there, daughter Daniela, Alex, who's a student at Cal State Northridge, right here, and at Valencia High School is his son, Adam, and we have London here as well as the grandson right there, and Austin. So we got it all together. But I thought it was important to salute Roger before he left totally the career and retired, because of all the work you've done in capturing Los Angeles in the history. Often we give credit to the to the reporters behind the scene, but it's the cameramen and women who really make a difference. So, Roger Howard, on behalf of everyone in the City Council, Mr. Krikorian, the Chairman of the Finance Committee, and Mr. Mayor, Mr. Garcetti, we salute you with this commendation. Congratulations, Roger Howard, for a great career in television news.
Thank you, Councilman LaBonge, City Council members.
Let's keep right in.
As some of you know, I've been coming here to City Hall for close to 3 decades. Yikes. But I never had the honor of standing behind the podium before. Normally, I would be perched up in the corner there with my camera, trying to stay awake and reading your computer screens over your shoulder, so be careful. As a cameraman, my job, in part, was to help people look their best, keep them in focus. And whether that be a politician or a reporter, and trust me, it wasn't always easy. I mean, think about it. I worked with Rod Bernson and John Schwada, so
right, that's right.
There's that. This is Pez. Everybody remember Pez? Dennis Miller once observed that television news is like Pez. Tiny, sweet, non-nutritious bits spit out by smiling plastic heads. It's pretty hard to argue with that. So my job pretty much was to try to keep the Pez dispenser full. Anyway, it's great to see you all again, and thank you for this great honor.
Oh, good, Roger. Roger Howard, give him a big hand. Thank you, Roger. Good job.
Thank you very much, Mr. LaBonge. Congratulations, Mr. Howard, to you and your family. Madam Clerk, can we call item 17, called special by Mr. Parks?
Can I hold it just 1 second?
Okay. We're going to hold item 17 for just a second. Madam Clerk, can we go to item 19?
Okay, item 19, call special for cards.
First speaker, Donna Perlman, item 19.
Yeah, I just wanted to know on the Watts Center, Civic Center, why, again, why did you waive the Budget and Finance Committee? And it says here it doesn't have anything about what they have, what they want to do with the Watts Civic Center building, how much they get an idea of what they want to spend on the Watts Civic Center. And so I think you're backwards. You should have gone to your Budget and Finance, so I don't know why you waived it. But I'm going to go off because I want to speak on other things. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna. Next speaker, John Walsh.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org or J. Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. 100% in favor of this. I go down to the Watt Civic Center. I used to teach down in South Central. Hope that term doesn't offend anybody. Watt Civic Center buildings have been allowed for many, many years to fall apart because they're not west of La Brea where the white people live. And I'm talking to an all-white jury here. And so we're 100% in favor of this. Whatever it costs, we need it. And it is very, very important that the Watt Civic Center buildings, this should be a priority. And I can tell you, if it was in a Jewish neighborhood, it would be a priority. I'm a Jew, incidentally. West of La Brea gets the money, and South Central, SOLA, gets nothing. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Madam Clerk, there are no more cards on item 19. Can we open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Next item, item 25.
Item 25 calls pleasure for cards.
First speaker, Mr. Herman.
Telecommunication. I'll give this.
Sorry, Donna, I called Mr. Herman for item 25. Mr. Herman's the first speaker. Mr. Herman, item 25. Thank you, Donna. Mr. Herman, I called you. Are you?
Madam Speaker, I get silent as bad, and I'm going to hold my time within this 1 minute.
Please stick to the
I will stick to the topic of conversation considering motion of Bloomfield and Bonin relative to the funding for a citywide broadband solution and other telecommunication issues. So the lady is right. Why can't the Valley and Van Nuys have telecommunications between the broadcasting of their meetings on a regular basis? Up to time, up to date, today, now, Madam Speaker. You live in the Valley. You should know better that the public demands action to communicate. And you go against the American Disability Act because you don't want to provide provisions of monies to accommodate people with disabilities to participate and fully engage in service and programs and
Madam
activities.
President, he is not talking about this item.
Mr. Herman, you've been warned once.
I hold my time to 1 minute. Love you.
Next speaker, Donna Perlman.
Freak.
Okay, I also like to say, if you believe in a citywide telecommunication, then you should have no problem with video conferencing to Van Nuys, or called VTC, video teleconferencing. How can you even worry about communication when you don't have VTC to Van Nuys? Telecommunications against the ADA Act. You should be able to have video conferencing from the Valley, for it's against the ADA Act. For the disabled to have to go all the way to down to Los Angeles. So
Donna, you have to stay on the subject.
Okay, so I don't know what this communication is about, but if it's anything like, I think it should include BTC. Thank you.
Next speaker, Eric Previn. Eric Previn is not here. Next speaker, Mr. Hunt.
Well, golly gee, I think this be broadcasting all across America. Broadband should be broadcasted all across America. I think the KKK, those niggers, and those Jews should be broadcasted all across America on broadband. Thank you.
There are no more cards for item 25. Madam Clerk, can you open the roll? Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Next item, Madam Speaker, Madam Clerk, item 26.
Item 26 calls pleasure for cards.
First speaker, Mr. Walsh, on item 26.
Sean Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is about the Hollywood Walk of Fame star for Larry Elder. If you're going to give a right-wing, white fascist a star, that's fine with me. But how about a star for KPFK? How about if you're going to give a star and get on your knees in front of Larry Elder, why can't you get in front, and incidentally, he is white. Just have him drop his pants, he'll show you. HollywoodHighlands.org says, star for a right-winger, then there should be a star for a progressive. And if you're going to go on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, remember, it is filthy, it is broken. Come to my website, you will see what terrible filth and garbage there is on Hollywood Boulevard, on the stars. Larry Elder, go to hell.
Next speaker, Mr. Herman.
Madam Speaker, for the record, I did sign up as Encino man from Encino in regards to Mr. Spindler, who had a very
Your time
rough
has
day.
started, Mr.
That's fine. I'm going to carry this on for 1 minute because, as Mr. Walsh pointed out, the right-winger, dinger, pinger, Larry Elder has always been a good reporter on his subjects of matter of material. However, people like Mr. Englander and Mr. Krikorian, you don't listen, don't care about Mr. Larry Englander or Elder. Larry Elder, for the record. Again, we all support right-wingers, Republicans, Democrats, and hostile work environments. But when it comes to dedicating the issue on respects to the Hollywood Walk of Fame and Shame, I say fix our sidewalk and streets so that no one slips and falls, whether it's an incident that happened by accident or not. Mr. City Attorney, you are in violation of the American Disability Act, and I find you guilty for slip and falls on the Hollywood Walk of Shame. Fix the sidewalks.
Next speaker, Mr. Hunt.
God damn it, I love that goddamn Larry Elders. I'm going to wear my KKK thing to his thing. I just love him so much. When he talks on the radio, I just love that Larry Elders boy. I'm going to wear my scarf and everything. I'm going to invite all you guys. That goddamn white nigger, too. I love him.
There are no more cards on item 26. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Next item, item 17, Madam Clerk.
Madam President, there's been a request to refer this item back to the Energy and Environment Committee.
Without objection. Oh, Mr. Parks.
And, to refer it, I just want to give some additional instructions to the Department of Sanitation that they expand their current study and research beyond the National League of Cities program to include both sewer and water pipes, and also address the positive impact on the city sewer system by ensuring that private property lateral sewer pipes are repaired.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. So it's referred without objection, Madam Clerk. Are we good, Madam Clerk? Okay. So let's move on to the next item. Item 27.
Item 27, call special for cards.
Mr. Walsh. Pass. I have no more cards for item 27. Madam Clerk, open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Next item, item 4. Sorry, I made a mistake. Item 6, called special by Mr. Labange.
Engineer, members, I just want to ask them in this report, just think about it. I know it's not next year, but think about it. You got parking meters in some of your districts, except Mr. Englander. Do you have any yet, Mr. Englander? Don't have one. But you have some in yours, Mr. Cedillo. And everyone around. You know, Mr. Fuentes, but if you have parking meters and the curbs are bad, in the future, and for the CAO, just as a friendly amendment, Mr. Kretz, you have parking meters, that some of that parking meter money go to fix the curb or sidewalk in that business district where it is. It's a friendly amendment. I need a second. Mr. Kretz seconded. Just a friendly amendment to add in the future, not right now, but come look at that parking meter money in parking meter districts. Sometimes you step out of your car and there's no curb now because it's an older part of the city. So it could come right for that parking meter. You got that? Thank you. You're very kind. All right, that's all, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Labange. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Sorry.
Madam Clerk, item 33.
Item 33, call special for cards.
First speaker, Dr. Tom Williams.
Dr. Tom, hello, anybody there? Yeah. Dr. Tom Williams, Sierra Club Water Committee, and a few others. We're basically quite concerned in the San Fernando Valley regarding this project because it's part of a larger issue that the development agreement, it's not been enforced. It's not been monitored. We're now almost 10 years, and we haven't gotten the stuff that was promised to the city of Los Angeles and our Sierra Club San Fernando Valley Task Force. So we're quite concerned with why shortening the period of announcement for a meeting now. Don't you have better planners than that? I would have thought that the project manager for the developer would have been able to schedule everything before now. So I would highly recommend that you do not reduce the schedule for announcement, and that in the time available, 24 days, provide real information and a real schedule of implementation of all of the elements that the developer is supposed to provide to the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. It's so refreshing speaking in front of you, Madam Chair. This is, again, reducing time for public input. That's the grand plan. From 24 days to 10 days, then from 10 days to 5 days. It'll be bound to 24 hours and then 10 minutes. This is Mr. Englander. He wants to bring this to the county who's running for supervisor. We need the full amount of time. Well, maybe you have a very, very good reason for reducing from 24 to 10. It's not here. You're going to vote. It's going to be 15-0, and the developer is going to pay off Mr. Englander with campaign contributions when he runs for supervisor. Porter Ranch, we need 24 days. Give a reason, or we might bring you to court and have another big victory over you the way we beat you at Millennium.
Next speaker, Eric Previn. Eric Previn. He's not here. Madam Clerk, there are no more speaker cards on item 33. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Madam Clerk, next item, item 34.
Item 34, call special for cards.
First speaker, Donna Perlman.
Yeah, we got to have, for the hit and runs, we got to have a maximum penalty for people to do hit and run, because this is not acceptable. Because when a person hits somebody for any reason or other, they have to stop and give assistance. So assuming that they didn't do that, that person becomes a criminal. And so, but I don't think you're going to see anybody that's going to find that hit and run, because generally everybody seems to have their eyes closed when these things happen. So anyway, I hope you are able to get the person that did a hit and run, and I hope they get the maximum penalty. And thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Donna. Next speaker, Mr. Hunt. Mr. Hunt, are you here?
See, if I was going to hit and run somebody, it wouldn't be Eric Garcetti, or it wouldn't be Herb Wesson. Maybe it'd be some other people in a hit and run, just to have a little fun. I just don't want to hit and run. I think that Eric Garcetti and all the city council members...
Mr. Hunt, you need to stick to the item. Item 34.
Eric Garcetti and all the rest of the council members should vote on hit and run. Is that legal? God damn it.
Next speaker, Mr. Herman.
Bender's story is all about what happens in the city of Los Angeles. As you all know what a ADW is, right, Mr. Big Ears? Or anyone who listens regarding the assaults of a deadly weapon crime. But a hit and run in LA is no longer a value of life. It's a value of making $50,000 for the city not to report, Mr. Herb Wesson. Batman wants you to know. But regardless, as I watched Sandra Figueroa from the police commission this morning, along with Sergeant of Arms Mr. Duarte speaking in the back of the room for whatever reason, possible investigation on a
Mr. Herman, we need to stay.
Madam Speaker, I am speaking regarding the hit and runs of Barbara Williams on April 3rd. I'm referring to the data bank of the city of Los Angeles, which holds all the incidents involving crime statistics, and hit and runs are a crime. When you don't have any people like us exploring and exploiting the confrontation between a hit and run victim versus $50,000 that mean nothing. It means nothing. You value more about what is not appropriate, which is a life, as I, Batman, speak out against the hit and runs. So I demand that you post every hit and run of the $50,000 that you collect. Thank Jose Huizar and all you permitters of convenience and necessity for alcohol permits. You bunch of drunks. And I remind you, Mr. City Attorney, it is offensive that you do nothing about the hit and run. Make an ordinance that stops the sales of permits for alcohol and beverages in cafes. Thank you, sir.
Madam Clerk, there are no more speaker cards on item 34. Open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Yes, Mr.
24 forthwith,
Mr.
please.
Kirk.
Item 24 forthwith.
Forthwith on item 24. Thank you. Okay, let's move on to public comment. Donna Perlman. Donna Perlman. Next, I'm sorry, sir, I called Donna Perlman. Public comment, Donna.
Anyway, thank you. Anyway, Miriam came up with a good idea for video conferencing. Why doesn't the county and the city come together to help pay for the cost of the video conferencing, VTC? The county will help pay for the video conferencing. You can have a space in Van Nuys City Hall for VTC for the county. So people can come from the San Fernando Valley to be able to speak for both the city and both for the county. And it will help the disabled, Hispanics, which you brought about Cinco de Mayo, to think about the Hispanics over in the valley. And you'll help the blacks and elderly, and from the Santa Fe to speak. You need to advertise it, and we need to bring it back to 1 minute, 2 minutes, sorry. To go away from 1 minute, we need to have it 2 minutes, because 1 minute is just not enough. So, Nuri, please bring back video conferencing, especially if you become Madam President for real.
Thank you, Donna. Next speaker, Dr. Tom Williams.
Good morning. 1 minute. Dr. Tom Williams, Sierra Club Transportation Committee. However, I remember in 2012 when we had a vote by this council regarding the SR 710 and its portal and where it should be and its tunnel where it should be. Now we have a problem in that they haven't complied with that resolution in the development of the design for the SR 710 South Portal and the tunnel alignment. It's still in LA, both of them, and we're quite concerned about why the city of Los Angeles doesn't exercise its resolution that forbid the extension of the portal north of Valley Boulevard. So we're quite concerned about this, and it will be a subject of meetings in both El Sereno and in East LA this week and next week. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Phyllis Doherty.
Thank you, honorable members. I hope that Councilman Krikorian and Councilman Blumenfield can listen to this also. In December of 2013, you passed an ordinance that would have threatened all of these small businesses that you're talking about by putting a shelter annex filled with unlimited shelter animals of any breed and any size next to any business. We went to court and we got a decision against you. We got a writ of mandate to stop that. We shouldn't have to do that. Not one person asked even one question in here about this. Animals are limited for safety and for health. It's important. You need to observe this. You're having attacks every day out in the streets. People's animals are being killed and people are being attacked. Tonight, or tomorrow night at 6:30 in the harbor, I hope Councilman Buscaino will be there. All of the councils of the harbor are going to meet on the fact that your animal control services are being decreased, not only there, but everywhere in the city. You need to be alarmed.
Thank you. Next speaker, Armando Herman.
Madam Speaker, I neither seek by bribe to please, thus do I live, thus will I die. When all did so well as I, gaining more, this profit of excess is but to surfeit, and such grief sustain, that they prove LA's bankrupt and misconduct in the poor and rich gain. Some weigh their pleasures by their abuse and lust of waste, their wisdom by neither rape or rage. A page of a deficit under the badge of LAPD and this council's shoe. Learn from Baltimore, learn from Baltimore. Don't be a racist, don't be a hypocrite. Look at me, because I'm a bat in wings. I say to all of you, woof, woof, is what the dogs are barking for. Stop harassing animals and leave us bats alone. I got a trick. The sergeant of Barnes Duarte fell off the back of a truck with me.
Next speaker, Eric Previn. Eric Previn, not here. Next speaker, Mr. Walsh.
John Walsh at HollywoodHighlands.org. I hope you saw the LA Times a few days ago. We had an enormous victory against the Millennium Towers. $1 billion project. We got Judge Chalfant to stop. $1 billion project stopped by John Walsh and Company. Now, you want to know how we did it? Through Robert Silverstein's lawyer. You want to come to the Hollywood Presbyterian Church on Saturday at 10 a.m. That's at Yucca and Gower. There'll be food, and we're having a gigantic celebration, and we will tell you how we stopped our neighborhood from being totally destroyed. Remember, on May 19th, vote for David Rue, and the same day, vote for Bennett Kaiser. And to say something nice about you, you've turned off your fountains. The city, the county has their fountains flowing full blast.
Next speaker, Luis Carrillo. Luis Carrillo, not here. Next speaker, Larry Ortiz. Larry Ortiz, not here. Next speaker, Charles Leon. Charles Leon, not here. Next speaker, Mr. Hunt.
Now, let's get down to business, folks. The reason why I'm here is a thing called the 4215. They have arrested me and taken all my equipment. I'm going to be living down here every day, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. I got 10 KKK outfits already made. See, when you go mess with somebody's job, that's a no-no. And we've already learned that once, twice, and 3 times. See, I don't come down here fucking with you guys' job, and you guys don't go down there fucking with my job. And this is where the big problem is, being arrested for trying to feed my family. And this is where the big issue is. All the bullshit aside and all that, you guys don't know what you guys are doing, and this is why I'm here. I'm going to be here every day for the next Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays, every day until I get my job back. Thank you, Michael Hunt.
Next speaker, Henry Marin.
As you know, I keep praying for the people who keep praying on me. And I want to thank Ms. Musciano for showing us how our government, how we get shit done with government shelter dollars by Car City shelter dollars, and how the people in the valley are all fairly funded. None of them are paid from the general fund, and they've all been employed past 5 years. There's not one plumber in the valley who's permanent other than me when I left Lebanon in 2011. So you can't hide the money because he told you where to. 1121 funds, 1120 funds went to the union, and you took 10% of the remainder of 70%, because 30% of 300,000 is 90,000, and 70% of 300,000 is 210,000, and you're going to take 210 as 21,000. You're going to skim off the top. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Madam Clerk, there's been a request to send item 33 forthwith. Madam Clerk, what's before us?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Posted and referred.
That clears the desk.
Members, any announcements? Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to remind department heads and other staff members who are assigned responsibility for Budget Committee reports that their deadline is the end of business today. Their absolute drop-dead deadline, with no exceptions, is the end of business today. And we will be considering those memos beginning tomorrow. So again, everyone who's assigned a report, if it wasn't clear, no report can be submitted after at the end of business today. So I hope everybody is busily at work completing those reports so that we can consider them as a committee tomorrow.
Thank you, Mr. Krikorian. Any other announcements, Mr. Bonin?
Yeah, I just want to say to any of the general managers who are listening, Mr. Krikorian means business.
That's right, and we appreciate that. Any other announcements, members? Please stand for adjourning motions. This meeting is adjourned.
You're watching LA City View, Channel 35.
We now join our scheduled program in progress.
What's really a blessing for us is that we're looking at a grocery store that we need. We're looking at a sit-down restaurants that we need. We're looking at a bank that we need. And we're looking at drugstores.
This is going to be a family-safe environment.